Hey everybody, what's up? And welcome to the garden. According to my records, I just looked at my page. It's been about a week since we did a garden update, and a lot of things are growing. So I thought, hey, why not? Let's do another one. Some of y'all said you liked the longer garden updates better, so we'll make this a long one. Recently, somebody asked for the exact measurements of my garden, and I took those, and my garden is actually 20 feet by 35 feet. So it's not the biggest garden in the world, but of course, it is a lot more space than some people have, so I'm thankful for what I got. But we'll just see how much we can get out of this little space. I guess we'll just start in the beginning here and we'll do kind of a circle around the yard. Up first we have these red Norland potatoes. You might remember I planted these in April and I was a little bit tardy to the party when it came to planting these potatoes. I should have planted them much earlier, but I'm happy to say I've dug these up and they're making potatoes, which most of them are really small, about the size of a dime. There were a couple kind of big ones, nothing really to write home about. Moving over here to my brassica bed, we'll see that my broccoli has bolted. I went ahead and I let this one bolt so I could save the seeds for it. Spring broccoli and cauliflower and all that, it just doesn't taste as good as fall broccoli. You can say I'm being pessimistic or whatever you want, but the simple truth is when it matures in hot weather, it just tastes like garbage to me, personally. That's just in my yard, that's what happens. It tastes really gross. So I'm letting these go to seed, make some seeds. I'll harvest some of it. I've already harvested a little bit of broccoli, had some broccoli cheddar soup. It was pretty dang good, and so I'm just gonna play it by ear for this, and soon I'll be taking this bed out and see the cauliflowers developing in here. It's, little things. And also we have a couple of those cabbages. There's also some purple kohlrabi in here, and I'll probably be growing that again in the fall. This was more of a let's see what happens from winter sowing. Really, the fall crop is the main go-to here because it's just too hot. Let's look at this trellis. It has my scarlet runner beans on it. They are already taller than the fence and taller than the trellis. They're about, I don't know how tall they are, but they're up there and they're blooming like crazy. And I am super excited and I cannot wait until I fill this whole trellis up. In addition to the runner beans here, I also have some cucumbers because why not let the cucumbers run up the trellis too? Maybe we'll make some pickles later, or maybe we won't. I don't know. I'm just trying to grow some cucumbers. Honestly, didn't have room for them anywhere else in the garden, so I just slapped them under this fence right here and crossed my fingers and hope for the best. There's also some marigolds in here. And I think there might be a watermelon in there too. A watermelon plant, not an actual watermelon. We are so far away from that still. My melons aren't even, they ain't even trying yet. On to the next bed here, you can see we have some pansies left over and the shiso, the red shiso, and my chrysanthemums. Chrysanthemums seem to be struggling a little bit. They haven't really got that much bigger, but I think they're still kind of recovering from being transplanted. I think they're going to be fine. Also, my cilantro is still going to seed. You can tell that the pods have started to form for the coriander, which is exciting. So we should have loads and loads and loads of coriander here soon, which is good. I have to figure out how to harvest that because I've actually never harvested coriander before. So there's that to look forward to, I guess. In addition to the cilantro, the auroch seed pods are still maturing and they look super cool. I love how they flatten out and they get this really nice look. These are going to look awesome in flower arrangements, and I'm going to save the seed from them. It's going to be pretty good. I'm going to try to overwinter these this year too, so should be a good time. So next up, we actually have my sweet corn. It's been in the ground for a while. This is a shady spot. It's wet. You guys know the drill, but it's looking pretty good. It looks, I feel like, a lot better than the last time I showed you guys. I was feeling pretty negative about it, but I fed it, added some amendments in. I'm going to do that again and keep feeding it and feeding it and feeding it. And we'll see what we come out with at the end. You can see the nasturtiums that I planted in there are looking really good. They are loving the shade that the corn gives it. 10 out of 10, thumbs up. Definitely going to be planting nasturtiums all up in my corn from now on. Love it. Great. Fantastic. Now looking at my vegetable trellis, this fence post here, things are not looking really that great, I don't think, personally. This is the shadiest part of my garden. It's also pretty wet here, too. There's crawdad holes everywhere. I've noticed that this year's garden also has, like, a lot of amphibians, which is cool because that means they're keeping everything in check and they're eating all the bugs out of the yard. And maybe I won't have to pick off any bugs because maybe the lizards and frogs and things will eat them for me. So I'm cool with that. Anyhow, the pole beans are not doing very well. For the most part, they're being completely overrun by these spaghetti squash. Now, I can't complain because obviously the spaghetti squash are really loving this shade combination with cooler temperatures because the flowers are going like crazy and they're climbing up this trellis really nicely. And I've even got a couple spaghetti squash fruits already on the plant, which makes me like clap for myself like, yes, this is awesome because, the more fruits that I can set before things like squash bugs and vine borers show up, the better. Because, let's be honest, it's kind of a pain to be growing um, certain types of squash where I live because there are just so many vine borers. Ugh, vine borers. Ugh, I don't like them. Moving on over, we have another bed with things that are not edible. This is more ornamental flowers. I have these globe amaranth, which are super adorable, coming into bloom. I love these things. They love hot weather. They're super easy to grow. And best of all, they're easy to dry and use in flower arrangements. And they come in really these just bright pops of color. They're one of my favorites. I actually really like these. Also in this bed, I have some flowering tobacco, which hopefully will get 6 foot tall. That's what the package says. Never grown it before. We'll try and see what happens. Also have some sunflowers and some zinnias in this bed, and they're all doing pretty well for the most part. Looking over to the next bed, I have, of course, the wild dagga that's been growing that I've been showing you guys. It's getting really big, and that makes me happy. I also have a lot of amaranth. So in these beds, it's more a mixture of things that are edible and are not edible, which is why I always say so much like, don't ever eat anything unless you are sure that it is edible. I know not everybody is like me and likes to mix things around, but it's important that you know what's safe and what's not, especially if you have kids and pets and people that you really would worry about getting into something they shouldn't be in. I know I'm always like, safety patrol, hello, but just be safe. Gardening's supposed to be fun. Eating new foods is supposed to be fun. Just make sure that you're staying safe. The next bed over that I have here are my zinnias, and they are finally blooming. Well, some of them are blooming. The ones that I pinched out aren't blooming yet. They've branched, but I didn't pinch all of them because I knew I wanted flowers soon. This is the Ben Aries Giant mix. I like this mix because for the most part they have more double flowers, and the form of the flowers is just really pretty and good for cut flowers. The flower trellis has things like scarlet runner beans, a couple different types of morning glories, hyacinth beans. There is some Spanish flag vine, which I was really worried about, and I'm glad to see that it's making some growth. You might remember the cathedral bells that I planted. It died. It got ate by bugs. That's a different story. We'll talk about that eventually. This also has some tithonia planted around it so that we'll have the nice, tall, bright orange blooms for hummingbirds in the fall, which I'm really looking forward to. I think that'll be really sweet, really nice looking. Behind the flower trellis, of course, is just my little flower bed here that I've planted from winter sowing containers. The feverfew, I've made a video of this feverfew, is absolutely gorgeous. I can't get enough of it. It is seriously so pretty. Winter sown straw flower is also looking really good. The plants are nice and tall and hardy. That's one thing I like about straw flower is that it responds extremely well to being transplanted. So that's awesome. In the flower bed, the poppies are still growing. I also have a couple sweet peas still in bloom, hanging on there in the heat. And some of the calendula has started to bloom, which is really nice. I'm going to be drying those petals, which I've already made a video on if you haven't seen that. And I'm going to be saving the seeds from the calendula because the calendula is awesome. And you can use it for so many different things, especially like skincare things and stuff like that. So I'll be keeping up with that. Moving back and shifting the focus back on the vegetables, over in this bed we have the zucchini, which already has some flowers on it, which is awesome, and some little female flowers are even about to open pretty soon, which I'm excited about. We'll have some zucchini. And also in this bed is the okra, tomatillos, and some tomatoes. The tomatillos have started to produce, so we've got some fruits growing on there, which is also totally awesome. The okra is kind of moving kind of slow, but that's fine. I expect that. It's kind of a fast mover once it starts to grow and produce, so no big deal there. Moving over to the bed next to that to the left, I have all of my peppers. that were winter sown. They are gorgeous. They are big, and they finally started to produce flowers, so I'm pumped about that. They've been producing flowers for a while, but I've been pinching them off. The same with my tomatoes. The tomatoes have been making flowers for about, I don't know, 4 or 5 weeks now, but I like to always pinch them off, the first flowers, because I want to make sure this plant has enough root system. I want to make sure it's strong and healthy before I encourage it to start reproducing and making to me some tomatoes. And I mean, of course, it means that I have to wait just a little bit longer to get some peppers and tomatoes, but I think the payoff is worth it because overall it feels like a more healthy plant. So that's just my personal thing. That's what I do. Mixed in with the peppers are, of course, my cantaloupes. They're starting to sprawl a little bit. I'm going to send those in the direction of the zucchinis, and I'll be able to clip out those zucchinis once they're done and let the cantaloupes take over. There's also watermelons mixed in the tomatoes, which I'm kind of regretting because these tomatoes are going like crazy. These things, I swear, it's like they're growing a foot a day. I know they're not. There's no way, but they're going pretty good. Overall, I guess that's about it. If you have any questions, just ask down in the comments. I'll be more than happy to try to answer them the best I can. I feel like there's a lot growing, but at the same time, I feel like, I don't know, there could be more. I'm always kind of like, feel like there's something I'm missing and it's hard to explain. Oh yeah, I did forget something. I'm going to take a look at my containers. I have a terrible time keeping containers alive. I'm not even going to sit here and lie to you guys. Like, I have to water these things like twice a day. And even then, they still dry out. My strawberries are dried out. My basil is dried out. They, I don't know how people. You know what? Big shout out to people who are good at container gardening because you guys rock. I can't do this stuff. It is so hard. My little pollinator bucket is looking good too, and I'm so happy with how this Salvia coccinea is doing. Now that's it. I knew I was forgetting something. So if you have any questions, just let me know down in the comments and I'll be happy to answer. And remember, guys, we're all in this together. So if you have any tips, let me know. I'd really love to hear them. And above all else, I hope you're having a real great day, and I'll talk to y'all later. Bye, guys.